What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Catching Z's Outdoors channel. I've been getting a lot of questions about my shark leaders and rigs, why I started building my own, what types of gear I'm using, components, what kind of leaders I'm using in different applications, stuff like that. So I figured I'm gonna go ahead and make a video. I have to make some rigs anyway, so I'll take you through how I build them. And I'll also go through some details on, some tips and tricks to help you for your shark fishing applications. So first off, why build your own rigs and leaders? Comes down to confidence. When you're trying to catch the fish of your life or the shark of your lifetime, you want your gear to not fail you. And the easiest way to do that is to not rely on somebody else to build your leaders for you. It's to do it yourself. Have confidence in yourself, have confidence in your gear, and you won't have to worry about a thing when you have that fish on the line. So that's first and foremost is reliability and confidence in your gear. The main reason I do it. Secondly, much cheaper. For you guys that fish once or twice a year, I get it. Buying pre-made rigs is fine. Spend $25-30 on a rig. It's no big deal. But when you're going out, multiple times a week, a lot throughout the course of a year, gets expensive. So buying your components in bulk, making your own rigs, way easier and cheaper. And finally, the last one is just customization. You can make these however you want. Pre-made rigs, they're gonna come one specific way. There's not one rig that fits every fishing application. So you gotta kind of determine what and where you're going to be fishing, and then personalize your leaders to that specific trip. And that, there's a lot of different factors that affect that, where you're fishing. For instance, is it a sandy beach? Are there reefs and structure out there that you need to take into account? Size of your bait, are you using like a smaller bluefish, are you using a massive grouper head, that kind of stuff as well. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. I'm going to be making some deployable leader rigs today. In other words, they're not going to be casting rigs. These leaders are probably going to be around 30 foot in length, so you're definitely not going to be able to cast that. And I'm going to be making some heavier duty application leaders. I'm going to be using 800-pound mono. It's pretty thick. So why I'm using heavy mono is, first of all, it's thick, so when you do get the fish in close and you have somebody fighting the leader, they can grab the leader. It's like a rope rather than a thin line that can cut you. So I use 800 pound. There are bigger options like 1,000 or 1,200 pounds. A lot of my fishing, probably half of it, is in heavy currents and channels. So I went with the slightly lighter option just because it's a little bit thinner. So when your bait is sitting at the bottom and you're in deep currents and rips and stuff like that, the thinner diameter is going to have less drag on the current. It's going to keep your lines much more organized. If you have the thicker line, it's going to drag it all over the place. So that's why I use the 800. I've never had an issue with it breaking. 800 has definitely been enough for what I'm doing. All right, next up is the cable I'll be using. So I'm going to be doing a 10-foot portion of cable, followed by a 20 to 25 portion of the monofilament. Again, the cable is just for the shark's teeth. Obviously, that's going to cut through mono. So if you have a thick cable, you'll protect yourself from the fish getting away. I'm using some catch-all 900-pound 7x7 coated cable. I've had good success with it in the past. To go with the cable, we have copper crimps, double barrel. Make sure you always want to use copper with cable. And then finally for the mono, I have aluminum double barrel crimps as well. I'm just going to be using some basic weight sliders, nothing too fancy here. Again, so this is going to slide on your monofilament. It's going to hold whatever weight you're using. I typically use spider weights, drop weights, stuff like that. And it's going to allow it to freely move on the mono. Some hooks. These are the 3 primary size hooks that I use. So the smallest, this is a 16-aught. I'll just show you guys so you can see the size difference. So we have a 16, a 20-aught in the middle, and then a 24-aught on the right-hand side. 16 I typically use for my spinning rods, short drops, anything like that. Anything where you're using slightly smaller baits that you need a smaller hook for, I use it on that. And then the 20 and the 24-aughts are used for the larger fish. So I'm going to be building this rig with a 20-aught, but the instructions are the same for all the hooks that you use. And then finally we have a couple barrel swivels that you guys are going to need. This is a 9-aught size. I'd recommend the 12-aught if you're going for the big ones. And then lastly, optional is a shark rattle. You're going to put this on the end of your leader. Basically, the current's going to hit it. It's going to rattle back and forth, attract sharks, is the theory. I typically do it on half of my rigs. I've had success on both rigs, so it's definitely not necessary. But if you want to add something else to your rigs, this is a cool way to do it. All right, I'm going to start off by pulling about 10 to 12 feet of the coated cable off of the spool. Cut it off with my crimper. Okay, you're gonna grab one end of the cable that you cut. You're gonna roll 2 of the double barrel copper crimps. You're gonna throw that on there. Make sure you use the appropriate size for the size cable you're using. So you have those run down on the cable. Then you're gonna do a very simple knot on this hook just for added protection. So you're gonna run through the back of the eye. You're gonna make a loop, just like so, with probably, about a foot of tag end. Then you're just gonna do an overhand knot. And then you're gonna go back through, you're gonna loop through one more time, and then a third time. And then on your third time, you're gonna come back up through the eyelet. Should look something just like that. And then you'll tighten it up. So it looks something just like that. Okay, so this is where you start crimping. So you're gonna run your crimp. I double crimp mine for added protection. Totally optional, I would recommend it. Again, you don't wanna lose the fish of your lifetime. So you're gonna push it all the way up against that knot. So it looks just like that. Okay, then we're gonna do a crimp. So when you're crimping, I'm gonna put 2 crimps on there. You wanna make sure that you don't crimp on the end. You wanna make sure that you're in the middle and that you crimp so that the end flares up. So that way when it's, when it gets pushed and there's tension on it, the end of the crimp isn't digging into your cable or mono. So just make sure that you're, a little bit off that edge. Crimp once, crimp twice, and then you'll do your second crimp. All right, all set on that first crimp. So you can see how the ends are flaring up. So now we'll do our second crimp. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to spiral the cable around a couple times. Just like so. And then run it through the crimp again. So it's important here that you want to make sure that that end is within the crimp, just so that you don't tangle up or cause any future issues. So you want that just like that, and then you'll have your spiral. So I'm going to go ahead and crimp it. Now that we got the hook end crimped, we're gonna go to the other end and we're gonna attach a barrel swivel. So basically you're just gonna repeat the steps. So you'll slide 2 crimps down on the cable, run it through, do your knot on this side of the barrel swivel, and then you're going to do the exact same thing with the monofilament on the other side. But you'll use the aluminum crimps for that as well. Make sure you do that. So I'm just going to fast forward through this. Now you're going to attach your mono. So I got about 20 to 25 feet of mono, and I'm going to be attaching it to the other end of the barrel swivel. So the only thing different with this is you want to make sure that you slide on your weight clip first. Whoop. Slide on your weight clip, and then again you're going to be using the aluminum crimps on mono. So we'll put 2 of them on, and then we'll go attach it to our cable leader. So you're going to run the same thing, same knot, and then you'll do your double crimp. So I'm gonna run my shark rattle on my mono. I want it just before my 10-foot cable. So I'm gonna go ahead and run it all the way through. So we're gonna have it just like that. And then I'm just gonna crimp on this side so that it stays stationary. So that it'll rattle around, hopefully attract the sharks. So I'm gonna run a crimp down and just crimp it real quick. And then finally, you're gonna crimp one more barrel swivel onto the end of the mono, and this will be what you attach your main line on your reel to. So again, I'll do the aluminum sleeves. I'm gonna double crimp it. I'll do my knot around the barrel swivel. All right, so I got it laid out here. So this will be the portion that you attach to your main line. So again, you have it on 900-pound mono, about 20-25 feet. You have your sliding weight loop, your rattle. Then you get to your cable. Again, you have 10 to 12 foot of cable. And then finally your hook. And that's all there is to it, guys.